Hello class. By now everyone should have had opportunity to review the Yoso article. This week we are going to dive a little bit deeper into the Yoso article and checking for understanding. Last week, which was due I believe on Monday, was your evidence and interpretation log. From that you're supposed to highlight at least minimum three facts about the Yoso article or quotes or anything that you found interesting, and then share your thoughts and ideas about that. This week, we continue to explore the Yoso article, and we dive a little bit deeper and allowing you to choose one of the capitals, and also define one of the capitals and give an example of that capital, and in your own words to describe or explain the community cultural wealth framework to an unfamiliar reader. I always say, are you able to explain it to a middle schooler, the community cultural wealth framework? And lastly, to talk about how do all of the community cultural wealths actually interrelate. Additionally, we are going to read this article here, click on it, read this article here, and look at examples of resistant capital. You're going to have a quiz that allows you to reflect on what exactly is resistant capital and what does it look like. Can you identify resistant capital? So for the quiz, like always, this is just a space for you to write your reflection. You're going to write what is your biggest takeaway from the article. So as you read the article, be sure to take notes. You're going to identify resistant capital in the article. And then you're going to figure out, okay, well, how does this article really apply to our class? What is the connection? Like, why are we having you read it? So you're going to make those connections. Okay? Now, for the Yoso article, she identifies 6 community cultural wealths. And so each of those wealths, you should be able to identify what each one means. Can you define it in your own words? I know the assignment's only asking for one, but the Yoso community cultural wealth theory or framework is a foundation of our class, and many of our assignments are going to stem from that, and we're going to constantly come back and refer back to that. So Yoso says that each person that comes into a space, a classroom, has their own form of wealth. And it's not just wealth as far as money goes, monetary wealth, but there's these 6 specific wealths or capitals that we can define. We have aspirational capital. What do you aspire to? What are your goals? What are your dreams? There's a saying, we aspire to what we know, i.e., if maybe an aunt is a nurse, then maybe the niece or the nephew might aspire to be a nurse as well, want to go into that field. That's why it's important for representation. When you see someone similar to you in that position, you're like, oh, okay, someone that looks like me is able to achieve that. So now you might want to aspire You might have this desire, this drive, this motivation to become whatever that may be. That is aspirational capital. The second one is linguistic capital. Linguistic capital is the understanding of communication. How it's beyond just the language. It's beyond simple words. It's the meaning of communication. So that is written, that is nonverbal, that is verbal. These are all a part of linguistic capital. There's an assignment that we would do in the future. The cultural box that also goes to a extra credit art, I believe it's called like an art gallery, art walk, where you go around your community and you could take pictures of something like graffiti or a mural, and you can define what it means. Can you extract meaning from it? That's also linguistic capital. An example of linguistic capital would be being able to translate or explain medical documents to someone who is unfamiliar with those documents. Number 3 is familial capital. Familial capital is what we gain from our family, or not just family, i.e. not just blood relatives, but also those who we may not be related to by blood, but we consider them family. Many times we have people in our family who's not truly an aunt or uncle, but we say, oh yeah, that's my tia, that's my aunt, that's my tío, that's my uncle. We say those things, but they're not really related to us by blood, but they have such a profound impact, or they've been around our life for so long. We call that familial capital. Familial capital is any knowledge that you get from these people. Any knowledge that you extract from those who you consider family is familial capital. Many times, most of our informal learning comes from who we call family. Familial capital would be picking up a cooking tip from your mom or your dad. That's knowledge. Or going to them and asking them how to do something, and then they explain it to you. It's the wealth of knowledge that your family possesses. Social capital. Social capital, we always hear this saying, it's not about what you know, but who you know. It's all about networking. Who do you have in your social group from? Because in that social group, you don't know what you might pick up, i.e. you being a part of this course, you being a part of the Pasadena City College family or social network. You have access to many different resources that you would not have access to if you were not a part of PCC. The next is navigational capital. How do we navigate? What does the path look like to accomplishing whatever we are trying to accomplish? We aspire to something, but many people aspire or have goals to achieve, but don't know the how. How do we get there? Beginning of this course, the module, we shared a lot of different resources with you. Those resources are what you put into, I like to call a toolkit. You put into your toolkit, and as you go through your educational journey or whatever it may be, you pull from that toolkit one of those resources. Oh, I need help with this writing assignment. Oh, let me go into my toolkit and figure out, where do I go? Oh, the writing center can help me with this problem. Do we know how to navigate the path or the journey in order for us to be successful in whatever we are trying to achieve? Resistant capital. Resistant capital is the ability or knowledge to be aware of the obstacles that are being put on us by a system, by a person, by a group. Are we aware of those obstacles And regardless of those obstacles, can we push back? Can we resist? Can we say, regardless of what you throw at me, I am still going to be able to accomplish what I am trying to accomplish? If they say, oh, you're not smart enough, I am smart enough. I do belong in this class. I do belong in this room. I do deserve a seat at the table. That is resistant capital. What is your mentality like? Mind over matter. That is resistant capital. Now, part of the question asks, for the writing assignment, part of the question asks, can you interrelate them? And so I look at trying to interrelate these capitals by thinking of myself and what I like to do in life. I think of familial capital and how when I was younger, my father constantly told me it's important to go to school. He drilled that into my head, that education is the key to overcome all obstacles that we may face as people of color in this country. He taught me that. And he continues to teach me valuable tips and tricks to navigate the system that I'm currently in to try to achieve the goals that I have. That was that familial capital. Social capital is like, okay, now that I'm in school, what do I do? How do I get to where I'm trying to get to? I enrolled in school, now what? So I began to rely on my social capital by asking friends, my peers, the people within the school, how do I become a PhD student? And then they begin to share with me tips and tricks and all sorts of resources so that I can navigate the space. I have this aspiration currently to be a PhD student, a public health practitioner, biostatistics specifically, biostatistician. That was all inspired by the combination of my familial and social capital and my experiences that went along the path. While I'm over here trying to navigate, I run into so many different obstacles, so many people, counselors and so forth, discouraging me from pursuing my goals and my dreams. But I'm like, no, I can do it. Because my family told me so. My social group told me so. I've seen some people in this role that allows me to be whatever I aspire to be. I can be this too. Then the other part of that is linguistic capital. Language matters. Language matters tremendously. So, do I understand what is being asked of me? Can I communicate my needs, my wants, my desires? Do I understand the assignments? Do I understand what it takes to become whatever I'm trying to become? My understanding of it. And then, of course, the cultural capital. All these feed into cultural capital. All these things are related because cultural capital is constantly shifting. We do have overarching cultures, but within that overarching culture, we have these subcultures. And then we fit in these subcultures. And these subcultures make up the entire culture. Because we can't completely generalize an entire ethnicity or race, because that's how you get racism. Oh, everybody who looks like this does this. Or discrimination, right? If they look like this, then they can't do this. They are not allowed in this space because we believe that they are going to be disruptors or cannot handle it. Okay? So all these feed into creating this community cultural wealth. Each one of us who walks into a space comes into that space with some wealth of knowledge. Some areas we may not be that strong in that area, i.e., if you are estranged from your family, you may need to work on that area in your family, and you may need to strengthen that area in your family. If you don't have a big social group, then maybe you should go join a student group or something, or go get more involved on campus, or go to a meetup within your local community. Maybe you aspire to be something, but don't know how to get there. So go talk to professionals in the field. Go talk to professors. Go Google, go research, whatever it needs to be in order to increase that navigational capital so that you know the path to get to where you're trying to get to. Maybe you don't know what you aspire to. Maybe you don't have any ideas of goals or whatever it may be. So maybe researching. Maybe write a list of what I like. I like to do X, Y, and Z. I could see myself in this role, or I could see myself in that role. And then from that list, we figure out where we can go from there. Linguistic capital. Maybe we don't have the right language, or whatever it may be. Maybe we're looking to gain more linguistic capital by joining a Spanish class, or a French or Italian class, or maybe we want to learn medical terminology. Whatever we can do to better understand the meaning of language communication. You know, maybe we need to work on our nonverbals a little bit so that when we walk into the room, we're not perceived a way that we are not trying to, a way that we don't want other people to be aware of us. You know, maybe you want someone to see us a certain way. So we need to communicate that both with our verbals and nonverbals. Resisting capital. Sometimes you may feel unmotivated. You may feel like, oh, I can't do something. I don't belong here. You know, those are the seeds of anxiety, of stress, imposter syndrome. Maybe you need to go to a counseling appointment, meet with the mental health professional to sit and talk with you through why do you have these thoughts? Or maybe you need to talk to someone in the field who looks like you and ask them, how did you do it? Just so you know you're not going through it alone. And cultural capital, maybe myself specifically, my father's from Cuba. He has taught me a lot of cultural things about Cuba, but what more can I learn? Can I go discover on my own? Can I contact other relatives so that I can increase my cultural awareness of what it is to be Cuban? Or even my cultural practices. So these are all examples of if we have a weak or a growth opportunities in one of these areas, how can we increase those? How can we increase those areas? So that is everything for this week. If you have any questions or anything, please email me. Please, contact me, and I'll do my best to help you out. Have a good rest of the week.